Hello, my name is Pedro Alexeyev. In this screencast, I'm going to show some guidelines of how to create an assignment for the course development of web services and web applications in Akademi. Here you can see a form, a web HTML page I created to show how this assignment can be performed. As you can see, this HTML file contains some layout, and it can be really easy to see that this layout is also supported for different browsers, for example, in Internet Explorer, in Chrome, in Firefox, in Opera, and even with old Internet Explorer version 6, it also looks pretty the same. So this layout of this particular web page contains a header with a title and some menu with a highlighted item in this menu. It contains main content and a site with some description of the form on the left. And also it contains a footer. Well, I put in my name in this footer. So you can see this layout is static. So if I will try to extend this form, it will stay the same size. So this is probably not very problematic to create this layout. The inspiration for this layout can be taken from this website, html&cssbook.com/code samples. And one of the samples is concerned about layout and HTML5 layout. So you can basically derive how to create such a layout from this particular example. Now let's see what this form contains. This form contains basic information about the user for user registration, like first name, last name, middle name, gender, birthday, email, and some occupation or a job position. You can see these items, these fields are highlighted with this asterisk character. They are obligatory to be filled. So if I will miss their filling, they will be highlighted and the form submission will be prevented. I created two versions of this validation for this form. One of them is based on basic JavaScript implementation, and another one is based on jQuery library implementation for this particular form validation. The first implementation based on basic JavaScript was inspired by this particular page from w3schools.com, and it contains basic example of how to create forms validation. Of course, my implementation of forms validation is more complicated. Another web page that contains a quite useful example of web forms validation on client side with JavaScript is webcheatsheet.com with this additional URL item. So you can borrow here some portions of code. Of course, my implementation, my way of implementation of this code is more complicated than this one. But this particular page is quite useful for your inspiration. So let me show how this particular form filling work. Well, if I will try to put a first name, it will be okay. But if I will try to put here, for example, a space or a number, there will be a problem. So if I will try to submit this form with this particular first name, I will receive the following list of rows. So the first name can contain just characters from A to Z and capital from A to Z. So if I will just try to delete all this information, so there will be a message, but I have to specify the first name. So let me try to specify the first name. The last name has the same rules, so I will put some information there. The middle name is not a required field, so if I will try to submit this form, there will be no problem with validation of this field if it's empty. But if this field contains some letters, spaces, there will be another problem because the middle name has also the same validation rule as first name and last name. So it has to have some just basic text information. Also, you can see that the gender have to be specified. Well, I can put male or female. This is really doesn't matter, but this information has to be placed. The birthday. This field is also obligatory, but unfortunately I cannot provide here any information. I have to follow this pattern. Two characters for date, 2 characters for month number, and 4 characters for year. So for example, I can put something like this. This will be okay. The email field is obligatory, and the validation rule for this field also requires some text information, followed by add sign, add character with some additional information and an extension. So this will be okay. The occupation field is not obligatory, but its validation is more interesting. Its validation requires some AJAX request to specific service. Let me show how it works. For example, occupation may be something like pottery. So you can see this is okay, this is correct. This particular occupation was checked with Wikipedia web service, which allows to check if this particular word is contained in Wikipedia. So if I will try to put something not useful here, you can see this message is incorrect. And if I will try to submit this form, I will see that the occupation is not correct, is not specified with correct spell. Also, I have to mention that the wrong field is highlighted here with particular label. So you can see this is labeled because if I'm clicking on this label, a specific corresponding item is highlighted. So I can change my occupation to pottery, and now it's correct. I can also have a link to this page about the pottery in Wikipedia. Well, this is not obligatory, and currently my form is correct, and I can submit it. Now, everything was submitted to this specific address. This is a fake address, and it's not a problem. So I can easily go back, and also I can show what happens when user clicks on submit button. Then everything is okay, and then all fields are verified correctly. I can show this with the network activity. Of course, this is not correct network. This is just the activity with my file system. So you can see there was an additional post request with all fields, well, all information what I provided with my fields, with first name, last name, middle name, gender, birthday, email, and occupation, and also information about the submit button. Well, let me show you how I additionally implemented the jQuery version of the same page with the forms verification, validation. Well, I created additional form. It has additional file name here with jQuery in it, and it works a bit different. It works a bit different because if I will try to start typing in the first field, I will immediately have error message if something is going wrong. So I can basically fix it. I can put additional information in the next field. It also works immediately. For the next one, I can also check it. Quite okay. Here I have to specify something. For the birthday, I have to provide date in correct format. So I can also use this. With email, I have to provide good information, correct information. And for the occupation, let's try again. I can try to put something incorrect. So I have immediately a message about this error, and submit button doesn't work. And also, if I will try to specify my pottery again, this will be correct, and the form can be submitted as well. So I can also check this with the network activity, and there will be a problem with jQuery loaded here. So I can press F8, 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 and this will be okay. here with network activity, and I can see that the information here is correctly submitted again. So let me show how it additionally works without this debug information. It works with submit button correctly as well. So how did I implement this version of this form? I was inspired with this validation plugin for jQuery. So you can see it works pretty the same here. So you can have here some sort of information. Okay. All right, and some comment, and finally this is supposed to work. Okay, and the source code provides me enough information of how I can implement it, but I have to go forward because the implementation of validation in JavaScript here is very, very simple. But my implementation is more complicated because, as you saw, I have an ability to show some summary information about my bugs, and the way of how these problems are highlighted. You can see it is implemented here a bit differently. So you can basically start with the validation of form from here. Additionally, I have to say how I implemented the spell check for the occupation. Well, I used this web service with this address, wikipedia.org/w/api.php. So if you will go to this address, you will receive the same long document, and it's not very hard to see, but this document contains a link to documentation. So I can basically go to this documentation and I can read how it basically works. So it's not a big problem. Also, I can have a special sandbox for this API. The address for this API is highlighted here, and also it's not a problem to get a link from this page to this sandbox API. So you can basically browse for this document and have a link to API sandbox. This is it. So you can see it here. This is the same. I already specified some parameters for this sandbox, which allows me to create a special link to traverse some useful information for me. So I created a link like this. So I can make a request, and this will be a special URL for this request. This request should be attached to the URL en.wikipedia.org, and this will be okay. I can show it a bit later, and here will be the result. This is some JSON object, which can be very, very helpful for JavaScript parsing. Well, basically, I can show you how the result of this inquiry works. So you can see it here. This is the URL. This is URL, the complete URL, and one thing I added here manually, the last element, last parameter, callback, equal my function. How does it work? It allows to specify the name of the function with these elements and complete JSON object within this elements. So you can see that this looks like a function invocation, and the name of the function is my function. So if I will have a JavaScript in my client page, which contains a function, my function, this code can be invoked, and this code will invoke this my function. So if you would like to know more about this technique of how to use it with jQuery, you can read specific paper, a specific article about cross-domain communication with JSON-P, because the technique I showed you is JSON-P. It's known like as a JSON-P, and here is an example of how it was implemented. So you can basically go to this page, this URL, and click on right click on this page and download it page, view it page source, and get information about JavaScript, what was used to implement it. So I can show you what this is really. It still works. It works pretty the same as I did. So this was a kind of additional inspiration feature for my additional inspiration stuff for my assignment. So finally, I can show you what I would like to have additionally from this assignment. I can show you what the assignment was implemented by these 5 files. I'm using the same CSS for both implementations of my form, which are solution HTML and solution jQuery HTML. Also, you can see I have here 2 JavaScript files, one for each solution with jQuery and without it. And also I can show you how this particular HTML code passes validation with a validator of W3C markup validation service. It takes some time to be processed. And additional validator for CSS. And I'll also start in this one. CSS is okay. For this one, it takes some time. All right, it was successfully checked. And well, finally, I can show you validation for JavaScript. This is jslint.com website. And I just copy-pasted my JavaScript here and put some additional blank lines, so you won't be able to see this JavaScript code, because I don't want to show it currently. I will show it a bit later, after the assignment will be finally complete, but not now. The only thing I'm going to show you is some basic commands, which are basically just parameters for JSLint, which prevents some unwanted error messages from it. So the first one is just basic options for it. So, for example, I'm allowing to use ++ and -- in your JavaScript code. I'm also allowed to not use strict fragment functions. I'm assuming that this JavaScript code will be executed in a browser. And also I'm allowing you to use, for example, alerts or console invocations in your code. And the second command is a definition of global variables that can be used in this particular JavaScript file. This is only available and allowed for the JavaScript which utilizes jQuery library. So for the version of the page which does not use jQuery, this command is not allowed. So I can basically press validate and see that there is no any error message, because there's just basically function report about this page. And finally, I can show you some additional stuff about the, for example, occupation. So with a basic basic JavaScript implementation I created so it just basically works, and that's it. So if, for example, there will be no internet, there will be just basically hung. But if with implementation with jQuery, I created this spell check a bit interesting, because it allows me to tolerate missing of the network signal. So I can basically switch off my Wi-Fi. So currently I do not have an access to the internet, and it tries to connect to the service, and the service is unavailable. So I can finally connect to the network again, refresh my page, and it works correctly again. So that is what I wanted with this specific assignment for this web course. And I wish you good luck with this assignment, and I hope everyone will manage this and will have no any trouble. And additionally, I would like to say, but for me, this assignment took about a couple of evenings to be done. So good luck again, and best wishes. Thank you very much.